So, to anybody who watches this, hello. I hope you're having a wonderful day. My good news is that I got a mentor. Whoop, 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 whoop. So I want to give a huge shout out to Frankie for leading me on my path. I am doing a video series to share my knowledge with her, but I decided to share it with everybody else as well. Hopefully we can all gain some knowledge together. That being said, I have spent a lot of time reading in the little free time that I get. I'm a CNA, so shit gets kind of funky sometimes. But let's get started before I need a nap. Nope, just needed more coffee. So since I don't know my pantheon, Frankie and I are starting out by talking about some deities. And she had hinted that this time of year was particularly relevant to the story of Demeter, Hades, and Persephone. It's relevant because we are in wintertime, or we're supposed to be. Apparently North Dakota forgot about all that. I'm not complaining though. But we're supposed to be thinking about this transition into springtime. I've had a few cold winters up here, so I know that this can be very true around this time of year. But let's talk about some tea with these deities, because it's about to get extra spicy up in here. I'm also gonna do a makeup look inspired by this story, so let's have some fun. So in this first video, I'm going to mainly talk about the overall main story of these deities, but in some later videos I'm going to talk about each one's experiences that led up to, well, this shit show of a story. So definitely stay tuned if this ends up being interesting to you. I was gonna do a 3-video series, but 4 just seemed appropriate, so I could do one about the main story and one about each deity who kind of fits into the story. So Demeter, Hades, and Persephone. So we'll talk about their side quests a little bit later. And now I'm moisturized. Do I look like an absolute fool? Yes. Do I care? No. Just trust the process. I scrunched my hair in here and we are going to blow dry it. The 2 most famous retellings of this story are Homer's Odyssey and Plato's Republic. Dropped my stupid cap. But these 2 tellings are vastly different, but we will not get into that because we would be going all day long. There are also some fun comic book retellings of this story that you can check out to get a grasp of what sort of went down and the overall gist of it. Primed and ready to go. So I actually got to hear this story as a child from my dad, who read a rendition from a picture book, which of course I can't remember the name of. And I remember really relating to Persephone. My parents were divorced and they didn't really get along. So like that dual nature of Persephone really resonated with me as a kid. But even as I am older now and reading this story, I relate to Persephone because she is the balance between life and death. And as a CNA, like I work with death a lot. And there's some darker undertones that struck some notes with me, but they sort of have a more adult theme to them. But in any case, let's get on to this story because we're here to talk to you. So you have Demeter, a goddess of harvest, of life, and of motherhood. And then you have Zeus, a god of thunder, lightning, and rain. When these two get together, the flowers grow beautifully and the sun is shining, as long as everyone's happy. That became evident through their beautiful baby daughter named Persephone. We'll talk a little bit more about Persephone later on, but basically all you need to know right now is that Demeter was super stoked to be a mom, and her and Persephone did everything together. They were like the bestest friends ever. There are multiple accounts of this story that say that Demeter actually tried to keep Persephone away from men, and if I'm being honest with you, I believe it. Her baby daddy Zeus was he got around a lot.
Fuck boy.
I think she was just trying to save Persephone the heartache that goes along with stupid boys, and you know, unfortunately, I know that all too well. So, fair.
Rip.
While some other members of Mount Olympus had some sneaky plans for Persephone. And though this didn't happen at a family reunion, I guess family drama just happens year-round on Mount Olympus. So Hades, king of the underworld, ruler of the undead, and probably the world's creepiest uncle, actually goes to his brother Zeus, and he's like, man, it's really depressing down in the underworld. Still really blows that I got stuck with that when you got, you know, all the land of the living. And Zeus, though he's still listening, he's popping out babies and shit and, you know, creating stuff. He looks at his brother and he goes, yeah, man, like that must really suck. And Hades continues and he's like, look, I see your daughter Persephone, she's picking flowers and she's looking beautiful. And Hades actually tells Zeus that he wants to marry Persephone. And Zeus surprisingly agrees. It is said that Zeus could not deny his brother the marriage to his daughter Persephone. I guess consent wasn't invented yet. But that's also when Zeus reminded Hades that even though he consented to the marriage, Demeter would be pissed. Like, mega pissed. And if there's one thing you do not do, it is piss off a goddess. So the two actually came up with a plan for Hades to kidnap Persephone so he could marry her and Demeter could just kick rocks, I guess. So the two form their plan and some time goes by and Persephone, unsuspecting Persephone, she's picking flowers up in Sicily. And this is according to some of the accounts that I've read. You know what I want to know? All of these orally passed down traditions, what really was the original story and what were the correlating lessons? Kind of mind-blowing stuff. And the deeper you delve, the higher you become on learning. Warning kids, don't smoke witch crack. Anywho, Persephone's picking flowers in the field and she finds a particularly enchanting narcissus flower. And for those of you who don't know, this is what a narcissus flower looks like. So why was it so interesting that Persephone picked a narcissus flower of all of the flowers? Well, if you look at the story of Narcissus, he discovered himself in the reflection of the pond, and Persephone surely discovered herself in the image of that flower, being a vegetation goddess and all. And well, Narcissus fell into the pond in which he discovered his own reflection. Persephone fell into, well, my guy. Hades found his chance to kidnap this poor, unsuspecting girl who was just trying to pick flowers, and he literally opened up the earth, and Persephone fell into the underworld. Dun dun dun. So, I mean, Persephone is like, she's not too happy. And she's pretty confused. Why is my weird, creepy uncle kidnapping me? Why am I in the underworld? Like, what is going on here? I don't get it. And Hades probably had to explain at some point that he tricked her and kidnapped her into marrying him so he could take her virginity, right? I would think that at some point he had to explain that. Either way, probably not one of Persephone's favorite days in the world. I don't know. Meanwhile, Demeter, instantly knew that some shit was up. Mom's intuition, she knew something was wrong. So Demeter, knowing that something isn't right, actually goes to look for Persephone. And traditionally now she's portrayed with a torch, and because of her search for her daughter. Unfortunately for Demeter, though, she was informed that her daughter Persephone was now queen of the underworld and was no longer free to exist on the realm of the living. So some time goes by. Now, if you want my personal opinion, I honestly feel like Persephone had some Stockholm Syndrome going on. Just a little bit, girlfriend, no offense. And, I think Persephone had Stockholm Syndrome because, even though, things were dark and gloomy and sad in the underworld, and her husband was her uncle as well as the ruler of the undead, but Persephone fell in love with Hades. But let's be real, no matter what happened, Persephone would always miss the life that she had with her mother, Demeter. So realizing that not only was she tricked by Zeus, whom she trusted, but that her daughter, Persephone, was basically sold off to Hades so he could marry her, Demeter went into an understandably deep depression. As a result of this, the harvests did not grow, the food wasn't growing, and people were getting hangry. Honestly, I think Zeus knew to go to Hades with this, because if I were Demeter, I wouldn't want anything to do with him at that moment. So Zeus goes to Hades and he's like, all right, dude, you've had your fun, but things are going to shit in the world of the living, and we're gonna need to put Persephone back with her mom. So this is the part where I wonder if Zeus maybe did a little convincing here. I imagine this conversation going down like, yeah, Hades, you're gonna be super busy in the world of the undead if you don't, give Persephone back, you know what I mean? But either way, Hades was like, you know what, fine, I'll give Persephone back. But I want to give her a parting gift and a goodbye before she goes back to her mother. So Zeus is like, fine. And as a parting gift to Persephone, Hades gives her a pomegranate. Yay, the fruit of the dead. And Persephone's like, OMG, thanks babe, I'll never forget you. But the dumb broad ate some of the seeds. And then Hades knew that she was part of the underworld forever. So Hades knows that Persephone has eaten some of these pomegranate seeds, and of course he's excited to have just one more thing to hold over this poor young woman who was literally just trying to pick flowers. Zeus, also knowing that Persephone had eaten some of the pomegranate seeds, was like, well, this is crazy. A lot of people like to argue about how many seeds it was that Persephone actually ate, but it doesn't matter. So for the sake of this story, we're gonna go with 4. So Zeus declares that Persephone will spend 4 months of the year with her husband Hades and the other 4 months of the year with her mother Demeter. Honestly, I just think that Demeter knew it wasn't gonna get better than that. Like, she at least had primary custody over Persephone, I guess, right? That's a good thing. So that's why we get 4 months of fall and winter and 8 months of spring and summer, which is a little more obvious here in North Dakota usually. And when the time comes, Demeter will be happy again because Persephone will be going back to her. Although I think they've been hanging out on the low. So there's the story of the most problematic custody battle in mythology. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I had so much fun creating this look. Please feel free to leave any love, insight, questions, or just stay tuned until the next time where we'll talk a little more about Demeter. Have a great day, guys. We'll see you later.